My mom told me this one, so I will never forget it. She used to be a nurse at Hollow Hill, literally one of the scariest places on earth. It's about Dr. Edmund Blackwell. She called him the Eternal Surgeon. So, yeah, welcome back to the Threshold, where medical professionals take their Hippocratic oath so seriously that death becomes more of a performance review than a pink slip. Tonight, we meet Dr. Edmund Blackwell, a surgeon so obsessed with perfection that he's been practicing medicine for over a century. Despite the minor inconvenience of rigor mortis, Dr. Marcus Webb thought he'd seen everything during his residency at Hollow Hill. But at 2:15 a.m. on a Thursday, he was hearing surgery being performed in an operating room that had been sealed for 40-plus years. After what administration called irregularities in patient outcomes, the sounds were unmistakable and deeply unsettling. The wet squelch of tissue being cut, an electronic beeping of phantom machines, and someone humming, "I did it my way," while apparently rearranging invisible organs. Real blood dripped from these floating tools onto the floor. Marcus peered through the door's window and saw a figure in vintage surgical scrubs hunched over an operating table, hands deep inside absolutely nothing. Just empty air. But his movements were precise, confident, and deeply disturbing. Like watching someone perform surgery on a ghost. Marcus saw floating surgical instruments moving with mechanical precision, apparently operated by invisible assistants. "Physically, I do my job," Blackwell said, "removing the worst gallbladder I have ever seen, and temporally, absolutely. I've also removed a precancerous growth from his liver. He won't even know about that until his autopsy in 2055. Edmund had been awake for 48 hours, sustained by coffee, medical cocaine, and manic ghostly energy. Halfway through, while elbow deep in an invisible abdomen, explaining his discovery of 3 new organs medical science had overlooked, Edmund looked up toward Marcus. His face was pale as surgical gauze, eyes black as body bags, and definitely transparent around the edges. He took down his mask and smiled at Marcus. The kind of smile you might see on a helpful store clerk or a really good serial killer. He returned to the invisible surgical table and asked, "Now, where's that spleen?" "You're witnessing a magnificent splenectomy," Blackwell commented. "The most magnificent ever. Marcus, you should know that Mr. James Fitzgerald will walk in here in 6 hours with severe abdominal pain. He will need a similar procedure, so better pay attention." Current head of surgery Dr. Sarah Martinez posted signs everywhere that read, "Dr. Blackwell, please limit unauthorized procedures to life-threatening emergencies only." Did she not notice that Edmund wasn't breathing, that his heart wasn't beating, that he smelled distinctly like formaldehyde? And he was clearly oblivious to hospital policies and protocols. Dr. Blackwell replied, "Trust me, I am a doctor." Well, I was a doctor. I am a doctor in the future. Anyhow, it's complicated. But without my intervention, he shall die at 9:47 a.m. With it, let's just say that he will live to see another day. You must know that I have saved thousands by operating before they knew they needed saving," Marcus protested. "This is madness." "Well, hundreds, at least dozens. Prevention is the best medicine. Why wait for people to get sick? Though the paperwork is a nightmare." He held up a very real, very bloody organ floating in midair. "Haha, full recovery expected." "Perfect timing," the ghostly surgeon shook his head. "Waited any longer. Wouldn't have been a good outcome." "Sure, sometimes I violate the laws of time, space, and medical ethics. But my patient survival rate is impossible to argue with. And time travel surgery is still an emerging field. Get used to the concept. And you should know that someone might be performing surgery on your future self right now. Because you never know when you might need unauthorized prehistoric preventive care." Suddenly, the overhead page blared. Edmund's expression became serious as he scrubbed at a materializing sink with ominous steam. Multiple trauma incoming. "You should scrub in, Marcus." 10 hours later, Marcus emerged from the most successful and terrifying surgery of his career. Throughout the procedure, invisible hands had guided Marcus's movements, whispered life-saving suggestions, and performed procedures on their own. Cleaning up, Marcus found a bloody note. "Excellent work. I went ahead and pre-treated the patient's future arthritis and reinforced his deteriorating spine against a 2031 skiing accident. Seemed like the right thing to do. Hope to work with you well into your afterlife. Marcus pocketed the note. If you needed a supernatural mentor, Edmund wasn't the worst choice, even if his bedside manner was absolutely terrifying. And so, Dr. Edmund Blackwell continues his eternal practice, ensuring Hollow Hill maintains the highest surgical standards across multiple timelines simultaneously, whether patients want him to or not. Next time on Tales from the Threshold, we'll meet Nurse Agatha Pill, whose prescription advice became explosive after her 1962 encounter with experimental anesthetics. If Dr. Blackwell's temporal surgical interventions gave you nightmares, subscribe to join our vigil. Until next time, keep your medical records updated.